Do you have a plan for what games you're going to play this year? Because being on Game Pass, sometimes it feels like I'm leaving stuff behind that I should have played. So I thought, what if there was this list that if we hit all of it by the end of the year, we'd feel really good about it. But it also has to be very realistic. And that list is not going to be for you. It's going to be very personal. My list is not going to be the correct one. I can't do that for you. What I can do is give some ideas to make that list. So I went on purexbox.com to look at the list of games supposedly coming to Game Pass in 2024, but I'm not going to go into detail on each and every game. There are already tons of videos that do that fantastically, including one I'm going to plug in. So instead, I'm going to just outline the rough picture of everything coming out, and then with all that in mind, help make this list to feel like you had a very diverse year for your particular tastes. And these are all going to be day one games, like games that are coming out in 2024 for the first time anywhere. We're not going to talk about games that were previously released or anything like that, because yes, the backlog is a thing, but the big advantage of Xbox Game Pass is playing games day and date when they come out. So let's first talk about games that actually have dates. Like these are games that actually have the dashes, the ones, the twos, and so on. So in January, we had Pal World Early Access come out and Go Mecha Ball. But then in February, there's something that kind of starts the month and ends the month with Persona 3 Reload, Remake, Remaster. I'm not sure which one to classify it as. And then the month ends with Open Roads. And in March, the main game I saw was Lightyear Frontier, being this mech farming game, chill vibes. That game doesn't have a date yet, but it is supposed to come out in March. Then there is April with Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes and Manor Lords. And then later on, September, I know it's a big jump, September 5th, we have Stalker 2. One of my personally most anticipated games of the year. And that might not seem like many dates, and that gives you time, luckily, to hit that backlog if you want to hit that backlog, because some people might have noticed that I left something out of that front half of the year. Let's talk about Xbox first party. Studios that Xbox owns and Bethesda kind of just covers the back half of the year, especially. And it kicks off with Hellblade 2 being at May 21st, 2024. And then after that, just a lot of like 2024 windows, like fall 2024. We have not only Avowed, but also Our History Untold. And then also Indiana Jones, supposedly coming out in 2024. We don't know when. And those four games I mentioned were covered in the Xbox Developer Direct, but what wasn't covered are supposed to come out this year, like Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 and a good maybe co-op game to play with Towerborn. But that doesn't end the first party list, because Microsoft Gaming had the biggest game acquisition ever last year with $70 billion to get Activision Blizzard King. The people that own Diablo, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, you're going to see all that get added to the Game Pass catalog this year. And while those aren't day one releases, that is still something to note for the backlog situation that hopefully you'll have time to hit. In terms of a day one, however, there are some people saying that Call of Duty will have its newest entry be a day one release on Game Pass. And there was some things in the court stuff last year that they had to do to get Activision Blizzard King that may have said otherwise, like until after this newest entry comes out, or like January 2025, that is when they can actually have like day and date Call of Duty games. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that though, but that's seemingly what it seems to be. But don't worry, because there's a lot of other notable partners that don't have windows or dates yet exactly, like 33 Immortals, Arc 2, and two games that I feel like many might have forgotten in the 2022 showcase with Ereban, Shadow Legacy, and Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn. There's also freaking Hollow Knight Silksong, the game that just everybody brings up in every single showcase ever. Replaced from folks over in the Ukraine. If that game comes out this year, that'd be great, but if it doesn't, then whatever. There's also, for horror, Still Wakes the Deep, but also in horror, Routine was on this pure Xbox list I saw, and this game hasn't gotten a confirmed 2024 date, it looks like, based off of what I was seeing. So I don't know, maybe it was just speculation with it being on this list. But one more category that we can't overlook is the low-key games, the indies, and the games that I think a lot of people are just going to kind of breeze by, but hopefully not. Like Another Crab's Adventure, Ghost Bike, Flock. Flock is actually one I think looks like it could be a really nice vibe. Dead Static Drive, Little Kitty Big City, Pigeon Simulator for laughs, and SOPA. And that's a big list of titles that I didn't give any context to. Xbox On did that way better than I think I've seen anybody else do, so check that out after this. But what we can do right now is, with all that information in mind, hit the real challenge. Because the real challenge is having all these games in mind to then plan out what will make you have feel the best to have played when all said and done. Because if you're like me, you pay for Xbox Game Pass all year long, and you want the most bang for your buck. There's kind of like some mindsets that's really help with that. For instance, this first one, playing one game per month. One of the day one games specifically, because each of these games, I'm pretty sure, aren't selling for anything less than $20, at least the day one ones that never released anywhere before. I think they all have a minimum price tag of $20. So just doing that alone pays for the subscription, even if you're an Ultimate member. And while that might sound simple, you know, okay, January, February, March, wait a minute, there's not enough date knowledge in the back half of the year. There should hopefully be some help with that with an ID at Xbox showcase for like the indie side of things, probably in March or April. And then to set up the back half of the year, of course, the Xbox showcase in June. After that showcase, I would imagine you will be able to plan the back half of the year. So for now, with what we know from the earlier part of this and the list I looked at, let's just have like the front, for example, and the back. Like I have on screen, this is my potential front and back just planned out. These are the 12 games. If I had one for every month, this would make Game Pass totally worth it. But then there's the other part of this that I think a lot of outside people really underestimate the value of, which is the slogan, discover your next favorite game. That is a slogan I think really is what Game Pass is about. To try out games you never would have without Game Pass. That is exactly how I found one of my all-time favorite games, Outer Wilds. I never would have played that game, I think, if it wasn't for Game Pass. And it feels good. It feels good to have found your potential, one of your favorite games of all time, when you may have never have played it before. And that's a great benefit to Game Pass. But you might lack that initiative or motivation to do that. I get it. So maybe just limit it to just one game. Just play at least one game this year. Have one game in mind that's like, you know, I never would have bought this. So let's just see. It looks interesting enough to try. I'm going to try this game and, you know, just one to a couple games. Just have that mindset. For me, that would be like 33 Immortals, Ghost Bike, Flock, and really backlog portion, any Call of Duty campaign. I have never bought or played a Call of Duty campaign since freaking Black Ops. That was a long time ago. That'll be cool. I don't have to buy it. And then there's the third mindset, being having a diverse portfolio that you feel proud to have played so many different kinds of games. Going into 2023, I was facing severe open world fatigue. Like I was not enjoying the open world genre much anymore. I needed a break from it. And that's what can happen when you're just playing nothing but RPGs all the time, nothing but action games, nothing but shooters. Sometimes you just need something to spice things up a little. And literally doing that, it helped me realize, oh man, I might be a closet like strategy game fan. So try to have a diverse lineup. You know, maybe think of a horror game to play, an action, a strategy, a first-person shooter, a quickie indie, an RPG, or just a very narrative-focused game. Again, showing an example, this would be my list of just very diverse, different types of games for very specific needs that if I hit them with that in mind, this would feel really good. Do you see where I'm going with this? Like, you don't have to do one of these methods. You can mix and match, or sure, if just one makes you feel good, do that. But these are all there to really just help feel like Xbox Game Pass isn't just sitting there and you're just kind of, I don't know, not really using it. But you still might be having that choice paralysis, that FOMO, which is fear of missing out. And, you know, what about the backlog? I want to hit these games that I didn't get to last year. I can't get to it all. Start with being okay, acknowledging what are your 5 most anticipated games, or what are your 5 must plays, or what are the 5 games that you feel like would be that diverse lineup. Just think of those 5, hit them, and go from there. I reached out to the community on Twitter to find out what are 5 games that you really can't miss or really want to play with Game Pass this year. And this is what they said.
My top 5 coming to Game Pass this year games, not including Power World because it already dropped. 33 Immortals, Hellblade 2, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Avowed, and number 1, of course, Persona 3 Reload.
The top 5 games I'm looking forward to on Game Pass this year, they're all smaller games, ironically. I didn't really plan that, but it just kind of happened. Go Mecha Ball, 33 Immortals, Erebon Shadow Legacy, which actually we haven't seen in a little while, Bounty Star, and the number 1 game I'm looking forward to, not just on Game Pass, but all year, is Towerborn.
Hey Tony, I am super excited for Hellblade 2. Ninja Theory is going to knock it out of the park, I'm pretty sure. and I just know they're going to do a great job. Persona 3 Reload, I'm a huge Persona fan. Replaced is another one. I think it looks really cool. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Yes, the name is really bad, but I am digging everything about it.
For me, I need to play Hellblade 2. Like, that is my must. But then there's Indiana Jones, Stalker 2, Ereban Shadow Legacy, believe it or not, because I feel like there's just... I haven't played a stealth action game in a long time. And then there's Replaced. Those are my musts, but if there's enough time, then I would also like to keep my eye on things like Flock, 33 Immortals, Avowed, the Call of Duty campaign R2. I keep bringing that up because I'm happy I don't have to buy that to play that. And maybe in that backlog time, if the moment strikes, I can finally play Deathloop. I made this video for you and also maybe to send it to a friend of yours that has FOMO, that has that choice paralysis, that Game Pass sometimes gives us. And I'm willing to bet there was at least one game in this mix that you were totally unfamiliar with here, which is why, it's important to get to know these games with the video that Xbox On did. It seriously goes over each and every one of them, if not more. Like some games I didn't even mention. But if you want to hit that indie scene with some of the most critically acclaimed games on Xbox Game Pass, then you can check out this video I did about that. I hope I served you and would love to keep speculating in the comments on what games you're going to play this year.